Okay, so yeah, we are going to learn about the social login, and I I think by now you already have the Google account. Okay, I hope that you have the Google account because in this case I'm going to use the Google, and we are going to see what kind of API or functions that Google provide to us. So we are going, what is the social login? And then how can we connect with the social app? And yeah, we will have the example. So social login, what is it? And then how can we connect with, if you want to connect with Google, or if you want to connect with the Facebook ID, or if you want to connect with the GitHub ID. Okay. So we will create a generic view with the template that I will provide. Yeah. Okay, what is the meaning by the social login? Nowadays, when you want to log in into one environment or one web, or yeah, if you have your company and then you want to ask the user to visit your environment, and if they want to see your data and etc., you need them to register. You need the person to make ID and password and so on. Of course, yeah, it is okay, but there is another option. We can ask the user to use their social media. They can use Facebook ID. They can use the Google ID. So you in Korea have Naver, you have Kakao ID. So you can use that ID to access a website. So we don't need to do the registration anymore. We don't need to ask, we don't need to input our name, our birthday, our other details, because in the social media, they already have our personal information. So how we can reuse that one? Let's say if I use the Facebook, yeah, I already have those personal information. So how if I use this Facebook ID, I put it into the web app, and then yeah, I will give the personal environment, the personal information for the environment. After I set this social media login, then I can access the system. So in this case, there will be a lot of social media login functions, like how can we use the app content, okay? How can we use the IIS? There's also another about the OAuth tokens, or there will be kind of app logs. Yes. I cannot explain all those things, but we are going to use one of them, which is the OAuth token. So this is one of the most popular way to access the social media login. Okay? And in this case, uh, there will be an access to this OAuth. OAuth means like if you use Google, then yeah, you have the authentication from the Google, or this is the organization authentication. If you use Facebook, so you can also use the OAuth from Facebook. If you use Naver, yeah, I guess there's also another OAuth. I'm not sure about Naver, but the Google and the Facebook and the GitHub, all of them, they use OAuth provider. And when we connect to this OAuth provider, there should be a written value. So because I know about the token, then I can have the access. What is the access? Okay, I can go to this API, and then yeah, there should be a validation. If I validate the result, then I can open the client. So it means the user ID is available. Because it is available in this auth provider, then the client give the request to the user. So this is the basic step. Okay. Yeah, the idea is how we reuse the ID from the social media. That's what we call as the social login. So I just want to show you how can we use this one. So let's try. I hope that there will be no issue with this computer. Okay. So, okay, I will need my uh, device because I need to check later about the login things. So first, you need to install this social out app Django. Okay. I'm not sure how we can deal with this one, but if you are doing with this Django, so let's see. Let me check on the setting. Oh, wait, there's no interpreter here. Okay, so I'm using the Anaconda. So in this case, I will go to Anaconda prompt. Okay, after I have this Anaconda prompt, I will run this pip install social auth app Django. Okay, and everything has been ready. So it means we need to install this library in order to be able to access to the social media login. Okay. I'm not sure about, yes, okay, hanya one. Yeah. So if you are using the Anaconda, you can use this way. Okay. Or if you are using the like Isuhyun, you use the Miniconda. I'm not sure, but I think the way to install it is similar. If you are using Python, then yeah, you can use the command prompt, the common command prompt, and you can install the social auth app Django. So, oh, okay, that's good. Then I will make a new project, okay, because the previous project is quite complex in the structure. I want just to make a very simple example for this one. Let's make a new project. The project is app with social. So let's make a Django project. Let's make the app with social. Hey, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, here you can type anything. So sure. So I'm using the interpreter from the Anaconda, and let me create a new window. Okay, so this is the new project. So in the parent folder, we can create the views.py. Okay, let me just show you how can we connect to the login part without accessing the login that we learned last time. So in the parent folder here, you can make views.py. You can make views, okay, and then copy the code on the PowerPoint and then paste in the views.py. So in this case, I will use the logout from the Django, and then if it is home, I will use the index.html. So I will make it later. And if it is logout, then we will go back to the original or the home. And in the URLs, I guess we can just make the URLs in the parent folder. We don't need to make another kind of app. So let's copy and paste this one. So in the urls.py, this is the original one. Okay. So I will make this. I'm not sure about this logout view, but please keep it like this one. In the case if I need this one, then I will use this. So the admin is still the same. We have login, so there will be the login.html. And for the logout, we need to access the logout. For the out, yeah, we are going to access the social Django.urls. So this is the built-in Django, and we can just reuse it. And there's a namespace for this one. The namespace is all social. So this is the built-in function in Django. If you are accessing the home, okay, you are going to use the index.html. So I will delete this part. So we are going to use this for the URLs. Okay. Now we can go to the setting. Okay. The first part in the install apps, we need to add the social Django. So this is the app that I mentioned before. If you are in the settings, okay. So in the install app, yeah, we can make the one more app, which is social Django. We don't need to make the social Django in our project because it is the built-in. We just install it. Okay. And next, what we need to add is it is in the templates. Okay. So the templates here, we need to include two more lines, which is about the backend and about the login redirect. So you can copy those two. Okay. So it requires the backend and login redirect. And you can put it in this part option. Okay. So we have two more lines for this option. It means this is the processor. Okay. This is the processor to build in this Django environment. And as I mentioned to you from the previous chapter, yeah, we need to deal with the templates. So let's change this one with plus and then make this with the backslash. Backslash, wait, I forgot. Open, okay, backslash. Okay, so after you add these two, in the option, then yeah, we will do something, what we call as the backend. So I will copy and paste this one. You can put this after this WSGI application. So like this one, or you can put later, that's also fine. But the Django will understand where you want to use this one. For now, let me close this one because I found out that there's an issue with this Google Open ID, it means like the Google has renewed the function. Okay, but let's see. And we have like the Open ID. So this Open ID is from the openid.com. Okay, and this is the Google Auth 2. It is for Google Authentication. This is the GitHub authorization. Okay, so we need to get this one. And then the Facebook authorization, authentication, we need to use this one. So it depends on your social network. If you are using like Neighbor, then there might be also the link for the Neighbor. If you use Kakao, there might be another function for Kakao. So you need to check for every the social media, because I'm not familiar with the Neighbor and Kakao. Please allow me to use Google at this moment. We can use Facebook, but in Facebook, I'm afraid that some of you don't have Facebook. Okay. And GitHub, yeah, we use GitHub as well, but in the GitHub there is something that we need to modify. So I prefer to use the Google, because I think it's the common social media, or at least the common email address that we use. And after we have the backend, we need to add this one. Okay, so let's just copy and paste this. I will explain. So as I mentioned to you, we are going to use the Google. In Google, there will be an authentication to connect to your email. Okay. So we need to use the Google API. It means we will access the email and the profile from a particular person. It means if I'm the person in charge to develop this information system, then it will be my email and it will be my profile. Maybe if you have a company later, then you can provide the email of the company or the profile from the company. This is for the authentication. The other thing is about the Google Plus. So the Google, actually, it is connected with one social media, which is Google Plus. Unfortunately, the Google Plus has been shut down, and I'm not sure if the Google Plus still running, but now they still use the API from the Google Plus, and they use the Google Plus sign in to another platform. So let's see if it is working well or not. And the remaining is just to use the authentication and the plus, Google Plus, and it should use the deprecated API. It means we are going to use the API, the existing API, and there might be some API that might not working, and we need to do test through. So it is the Google Plus. It will access your login ID, your email, and your profile. Now, you can put this one. So we will use this part. If you are going to home, yeah, it means, yeah, this is the redirect. So if you are accessing the home, it will go to home. Or if there is anything wrong, or if there is something wrong with your login to the social media, then you will go back to home. And later part, we will use this Google Authentication key and Google Authentication secret from our Gmail or from our Google. Now, yeah, in order to get the client key and the secret key, we need to go to the developer site. Every social media, they will have this developer site, and you need to find out. Google, Facebook, GitHub, they will provide the client key and the secret key. And now let's use the Google. Okay. I'm using this link to open to the, let me open here. Shall I use this one? Maybe, let me try. Okay, I'm not sure if it is working well, but let's try. So you can access your Google address with your email address. Okay. So now I'm using this platform. Now you enter the Google environment. So this is the developer site. If you are going to access the API of Google, then you can see all those things, okay? Like the library. So there are many libraries here. So you want to access the YouTube API, or you want to access the Google Drive, you can access to the cloud natural language and etc. Okay, so if you want to access the Google Map and etc. Okay, so you can choose from this API. Hopefully the environment is the same with mine. Okay, so we need to do something in order to create the ID and the secret key. Okay, so after we log in, you can create a project. How can we create an project? Let's see, this is one of the project. Okay, I have one project here. So I'm not sure about your environment. Hopefully your environment is the same with mine. So if you have this, maybe I already created one project before, but if you don't have, you may have about the project, you can make a new project here. So here is the new project. And then it will give you the name, yeah, and what kind of organization that you have. If you don't have the organization, then you can just put no organization. Okay. Let's say the project name is, yeah, it's up to you. Now you need to make something different. Let's say I make it as the testing, but they create another name because they need to make it as a unique with numbers. So it cannot be changed later because, yeah, they need to specify this one. Let's say if you testing project, and then there should be a digit. Let's say this is 203. Okay. Okay, I will use this one. So if you are using the common Gmail, so you can select no organization. So the location, yeah, I think this is important, but let's see. Okay, yeah, you need to browse. Okay, if you want to browse, then yeah, maybe, oh, there is no. Okay, I need to check this one. Okay, I will click. Yeah, I don't know whether you have the option for this organization or not, because my ID is based on the organization, then yeah, it is very strict. So we need to select the organization. But if you are using the common Gmail, maybe you can skip that part. Now you can see that the testing has been created. So here, yeah, I can choose to the testing. Yes, allow the project. becomes the project of the testing. Yeah, if you're not using the organization ID, I guess you can just use the no organization and you can create. Now, next, you need to access the API. As I mentioned to you, this Google, I'm not sure now, but because the previous one, it is connected to the social media that Google provided, which is the Google Plus. So you can go to this social, okay? So when you click this, if you are in the dashboard, you need to go to the enable API and services. There are many API here, and there are some social API. I guess you can just use this Google API, Google Plus API. Once you enable this one, okay, so you can click enable, then yeah, it will show you something, okay, in order to later, yeah, you can use it for your project. Okay. So the Google API has been generated, and this Google API later will be needed for the login. And after you have this Google API stuff, now we need to use the Google, our project, to create the authentication. So let's go back to the project. So let's go back to this project, and yeah, you can go back to the original one. Now I go back here. Oh, I need to create a new. Okay, I need to make a new credentials. Okay, what is credentials? So I need to make a new ID and secret key. So if you have many platforms, you can create many, yeah, you can also create many credentials. So for example, if you have website one, so the website one, you will use one credential. If you have website two, you have another credentials. That's also fine. I'm not sure how many credentials that Google allow. For now, let's create one. We'll create credentials. Okay. So you can see there are three. Are you using the API key? Or you are using the OAuth client ID? Or you use the service account? So it's different for every application here. Let's just use the OAuth client ID because we are going to use the OAuth token. Okay, so here to create an OAuth client ID, you must first set a product name and consent screen. So here, after you create this one, they will ask you, okay, this one is the page. You need to select the OAuth client ID. And after you make the OAuth client ID, they will ask you to make the, what is it? Product name and consent screen. So let's make the product name and consent screen. So you can configure. And how you want to configure and register your app, including the target user. So there are two. If it is the internal, then it means only the organization. Let's say if I'm using the Hub email address, then only the person who are in the Hub that can access the website. But if it is external, then it means every other user not using the Hub email address can access. So it's up to you. Maybe I will use the internal, or if you want to use external, yeah, it's up to you. Okay, let's just use external. And then they will ask you about what is your app name. So in this app name, yeah, you can, I think you can put any name. Okay. So in the app name, as long as the name is not conflict with the requirement, then there's no issue. Okay. For example, the app name is testing, and then the support email. Yeah, I use this is my email. I don't have the app logo. Let me just skip for all those things, and then I will just save and continue. So I just put the main information. Oh, the developer contact email address. There should be one email address. Then okay, let me just use my email address. This one. Okay. So this is from the G Suite. Okay. So I already have the OAuth consent screen, and then the scope. I think we don't need this one, so you can skip test user. You can skip, and yeah, we already have the authentication consent screen. So you can go back to the dashboard, and yeah, this is the authentication screen. So after we finish with this authentication screen, then we can try to make the credentials. Okay. Can make the credential. So let's make the credential with OAuth client ID. And they will ask you, what is your application type? Yeah, you can make web, you can make Android, Chrome app, iOS, and etc. Or if you want to use the TV and desktop app, yeah, they also show you this kind of information. So let me just use the web because we are going to access the web. And then that be the name as web client 1. Okay. And now you need to put the authorized JavaScript origin URI. URI means the Unified Resource Identifier. Because we are just using our own local host, you can put this link. And then this is also another redirect URIS. It is for the identifiers if we have multiple. Okay. Then if we want to check the authorization, you need to use the social Django. So the social Django, they have the link, they already set the link with this one. So let's use those two in the authorized JavaScript origins and authorized redirect URI. So in this page, URI, you need to fill in this one because now we are just using the local host. If you later have your own URI, you can specify, you can change here. And next, this is the redirect URIs. So you can add this one. It means when I have some requests, then I need to go to this Google OAuth in the Django. So I can create. Now you can see you have your client ID and you have your client secret. Okay. So this OAuth is limited to 100 sensitive scope logins until the OAuth consent screen is verified. Oh, okay. So yeah, now it's okay. We can just try with only one. Okay. Now it becomes more strict. Okay. So if we have 100, yeah. So you can copy your client ID. Okay. Copy the client ID and then put in your settings.py. So this is the client key, okay, and then you copy the client secret. You copy client secret and then put here. Okay. So you put the client key and the client secret here, the Google Auth 2 key and secret. So if you close this one, oh, and then, oh, where is the key? Okay. So you can click here, the web client ID, and then you can see this is the client ID and this is the client secret. Okay, so it's the same. Yeah. Okay. So you can reuse anytime. You can go back to your Google Cloud platform and you can get this one. Okay, after you finish with those, I guess it's enough to try with your website. Okay. So you already put the key and the secret here. Now let's make the index.html. This is the index.html. I will make a new HTML file here. I will make a new index. So it's just a simple template in the home, and then this is just to access the Google social media login. So this is the Google sign in demo. Okay. And then, yeah, oh, okay, I have 2 pages. Okay. So you can copy and paste the remaining. Okay. So after you have the index.html part 1 and part 2 in your template, now you need to access your web. But before you run your project, you need to do the migrate, okay? Because you don't have any apps here. You can just do the migrate. You can run manage.py task and then migrate. So if you check this one, once you migrate, they will make the user, and then also they will make the social Django included into your project. Okay. After you finish with the migrate, you can run. Okay, let me see. Now you can see this very simple template. Now I would like to log in with Google. So they will go to this environment, and then yeah, you can access. Okay, because I already have the information in the Google Auth is the same with mine, then yeah, it is okay. So welcome aboard for this ID. Or if I have another, oh yeah, this one is strictly we cannot, I don't know how to access the other login. Okay. So Google can automatically check if you have this one. Okay. Yeah. So you can log out if you do not want to get more the information here. Let's see. Yeah, you can go to this one. Let me check with my other address. Okay, now it works. So it means I can go with my other ID. So as you see from the uh, verification, so we have like 100 ID for accessing this one. If you want to get those ID, so after they log in into your system, like this name, then you can save into your, for example, database. So now I don't teach you how to do that one, but you can see here, this is the testing block. And then when the user is authenticated, it means if the user is authenticated from the Google side, then you will show the user name. And this username, is not available in the database because you're using the social login. So if you are looking at this database, let's see if I use this auth user. Okay, now they store in this user. Okay. So they have authentic directly saved into your user authorization. Okay, it means you don't need to make the registration. You don't need to make the uh, registration page like what we did before. You just connect to the social media and then they will store all the information in your database. That's why this mechanism is very good, but you need to provide a good security, because when you have your website and if your security is very low, then people do not want to share this Google information or the social media information to your website. This is a very simple app to about the social login, and if you can apply with this one, it will be good. Yeah. Because nowadays people go toward this kind of login instead of making the login information, registration, and etc. Okay, that's all that I can explain about the social login. Any questions?